All praises, all praises, all praises to the heavenly, holy, almighty creator of infinity, eternity, the universe, and all there is. This is Revelations.UNVEILED.DETROIT. Hello, family. We are back together again. Once again, as we convene and converge, stepping up to the threshold of transition. We are ready to embark on our holy mission as we find our wonderful soft space in the place of the Revelations.UNVEILED.DETROIT den, where we will begin our evaluation continually into the wonderful mystery history of the Holy Hidden Nation. All praises. And to the scattered tribes of the house of Jacob, wherever you may sojourn on planet Earth, as well as the brothers and sisters of the world, my continuous petitions in prayer for your care and safety. And family, we are reconvening so that we may continue on our wonderful journey into the Maccabean history, the 400 plus year history of the Greek captivity, the captivity between the Medo-Persian and the Roman empires within the holy text, the captivity that was prophesied by Brother Daniel as the silver thighs of the great statue and the horn of the goat in the chapters of Daniel. So, as we continue our evaluation and exploration, where we expound and expand and increase both intellectually and spiritually, we will realize we are reconnecting back to our ancestral stories and adventures and escapades. So, we shall begin, and we pay due homage to the Revelations.UNVEILED.DETROIT channel standards in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 8, and as we continue our learning and discerning, we employ the tool of Holy Brother Prophet Isaiah in the 28th chapter of his scroll, verses 9 through 11. All praises. So family, as we clench the hands and we look into the eyes of our fellow beings of light in our zone of safety, comfort, love, and learning, we shall begin our continuation into that wonderful history denied to us in this carnal captivity on this continent of confusion. And we began. The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 1. About the time King Antiochus traveling through the high countries heard say that Elames in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold, and that there was in it a very rich temple, wherein were coverings of gold and breastplates and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king who reigned first among the Grecians, had left there. Wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it, but he was not able, because they of the city, having had warning thereof, rose up against him in battle. So he fled and departed thence with great heaviness and returned to Babylon. Moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies which went against the land of Judea were put to flight, and that Lysias, who went forth first with a great power, was driven away of the Jews, and that they were made strong by the armor and power and store of spoils which they had gotten of the armies, whom they had destroyed. All right, family. So our people, the Maccabees, the Jews, destroyed those armies of the Persians, the Greeks, and the Babylonians in confederacy. Verse 7. Also they had pulled down the abomination which he had set upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, and his city Bethsura. Now, when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved, whereupon he laid down upon his bed and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for. And there he continued many days, for his grief was even more and more, and he made account that he should die. Wherefore he called for all his friends and said unto them, The sleep is gone from mine eyes, and my heart fails for very care. And I thought with myself, into what tribulation am I come, and how great a flood of misery it is, wherein now I am. For I was bountiful and beloved in my power. But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Judea without a cause. I perceive, therefore, that for this cause these troubles are come upon me, and, behold, I perish through great grief in a strange land. Then called he for Philip, one of his friends, who he had made ruler over all his realm. And he gave him a crown, and his robe, and his signet, to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus, and nourish him up for the kingdom. So the king Antiochus died there in the 149th year. Now, when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus his son, whom he had brought up being very young, to reign in his father's stead, and his name was called Eupator. About the time that they were in the tower shut up, the Israelites round about the sanctuary and sought always their hurt and the strengthening of the heathen. Wherefore Judas, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. All right, family, so there were still some wicked Israelites, some reprobates who were agreeing with the Grecians and the heathen, and they were shut up in the sanctuary, holding steady. But now the brothers Judas and the other Israelites are going to the tower to take it back. Verse 20. So when they came together and besieged them in the 150th year, and he made mounts for shots against them and other engines, howbeit certain of them that were besieged got forth and loose, unto whom some ungodly men of Israel joined themselves. And they went unto the king and said, How long will it be here you execute judgment and avenge our brethren? We have been willing to serve your father and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments, for which cause they of our nation besiege the tower and are alienated from us. Moreover, as many of us as they could light on, they slew and spoiled our inheritance. Neither have they stretched out their hands against us only, but also against their borders. And behold, this day they are besieging the tower at Jerusalem to take it. The sanctuary also at Bethsura have they fortified. Wherefore, if you do not prevent them quickly, they will do greater things than these. Neither shall you be able to rule over them. Now, when the king heard this, he was angry and gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms and from isles of the sea bands of hired soldiers, so that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen and 20,000 horsemen and 32 elephants exercised in battle. These went through Idumea and pinched against Bethsura, which they assaulted many days, making engines of war. But they of Bethsura came out and burned them with fire and fought valiantly. Upon this, Judas removed from the tower and pitched in Bath Zacharias over against the king's camp. Then the king, rising very early, marched fiercely with his host toward Bath Zacharias, where his armies made them ready to battle, and sounded the trumpets. And to the end they might provoke the elephants to fight, they showed them the blood of grapes and mulberries. Moreover, they divided the beast among the armies, and for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats and mail, and with helmets of brass on their heads. And besides this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of the best. These were ready at every occasion. Wheresoever the beast was, and whithersoever the beast went, they went also. Neither departed they from him. And upon the beasts were there strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one of them 32 strong men that fought upon them, besides the Indian that ruled them. All right, family. So they had elephants and horsemen all pitched for battle, and men joined to these animals, all ready to make war. As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on this side and that side at the two parts of the host, giving them signs what to do, and being harnessed all over against the ranks. Verse 39. Now when the sun shone upon the shields of gold and brass, the mountains glistered therewith, and shined like lamps of fire. So part of the king's army being spread upon the high mountains, and part of the valleys below, they marched on safely and in order. Wherefore all that heard the noise of their multitude, and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved, for the army was very great and mighty. Then Judas and his host drew near and entered into battle, and there were slain of the king's army 600 men. Eleazar also, surnamed Savaran, perceiving that one of the beasts armed with the royal harness was higher than the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him, put himself in jeopardy to the end that he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name. Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. Which done, he crept under the elephant and thrust him under and slew him, whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died. All right, family, so Brother Savaran sacrificed himself for the nation by destroying the elephant beast carrying the men, as well as the soldiers surrounding him. Verse 47. Howbeit the rest of the Jews, seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem to meet them. So the king pitched his tents against Judea and against Mount Zion. But with them that were in Bethsur he made peace, for they came out of the city, because they had no victuals or food there to endure the siege, it being a year of rest in the land. So the king took Bethsur and set a garrison there to keep it. As for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days, and set there artillery with engines and instruments to cast fire and stones, and pieces to cast darts and slings. Whereupon they also made engines against their engines, and held battle for a long season. Yet at the last their vessels being without victuals, for that it was the 7th year, and they in Judea that were delivered from the Gentiles had eaten up the residue of the store. They, verse 54, there were but a few left in the sanctuary, because of the famine did so prevail against them, that they were fain to disperse themselves, every man to his own place. At that time Lysias heard say that Philip, whom Antiochus the king, whilst he lived, had appointed to bring up his son Antiochus II, that he might be king. Lysias was returned out of Persia and Media, and the king's host also that went with him. And he sought to take unto him the ruling of the affairs. Wherefore he went in all haste and said to the king of the captains of the host and the company, We decay daily, and our victuals are but small, and the place we lay siege unto is strong, and the affairs of the kingdom lie upon us. Now therefore let us be friends with these men, and make peace with them, and with all their nation, and covenant with them. And they shall live after their laws as they did before, for they were therefore displeased, and have done all these things, because we abolished their laws. All right, family, so Lysias, he wants to go back to the country where Antiochus II is being set up. So now he's going to make peace with the Jews and return home. So now he has reconciled with us as the nation and is returning back to his own country. Verse 60. So the king and his princes were content, wherefore he set upon them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. Also the king and the princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. Then the king entered into Mount Zion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he broke his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall round about. Afterward departed he in all haste, and returned unto Antiochia, where he found Philip to be master of the city. So he fought against him, and took the city by force. All praise his family. So we see once again the brothers, the Judas, Maccabees, they held fort in battle against the multitude and the supersized army and confederacy of the heathen headed by the Grecians. And yet, even though there was a defeat of the battle, a small armistice or entering into covenant, that was only due to a famine being in the land. And so the heathen have now recognized the strength of the people, the spirit of the people, the God of the people, the laws of the people, the holy people, the chosen people of the house of Jacob. And so, even though they came back with the treachery of destruction, of destroying our walls, We have once again stood in the gap and held together the remnants of our nation so that we could continue in maintaining our identity and the integrity of the holy word of the holy creator of all imagination. All praises. And family, that was 1 Maccabees chapter 6, the cries and the deception of the heathen. And Lord willing, and with the support and love and the gift and breath of life, we will come back together in this wonderful zone of safety and warmth and care and edification and education for the holy hidden nation. So family, until we are together again, I love you. I love you. I love you. This is Revelations.UNVEILED.DETROIT. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. For we are a holy people unto the Lord our God. The Lord our God has chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon us, nor choose us because we were more in number than any people, for we were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved us, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has the Lord brought us out with a mighty hand and redeemed us out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord our God, he is God, the faithful God, which keeps covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations.